The boys in blue have long been the sports pride of the LA faithful. However, the history of this fabled franchise starts when they were in the process of making Los Angeles their new home, which infamously displaced thousands of Mexican Americans already living there. So what was it like before? Why were they forcibly moved? And what is a Dodger anyway? So tell me, what you know about the Chavez Ravine? Make no mistake about it, the Dodgers are LA's team. Kobe has his murals, the Kings have their dedicated fans, and the Rams have the newest and best stadium in the city. But in this city of champions, one ring just ain't gonna cut it. So the Dodgers decided to become 7-time World Series champions. The team came from Brooklyn after the team's owner at the time, Walter O'Malley, could not build his dream stadium in the heart of the compact city. When he started to shop around, the baseball-less city of Los Angeles offered him a cleared space of public land adjacent to the city. Though, it wasn't always like that. Founded in the early 1800s, Chavez Ravine is named after Julian Chavez, a rancher that bought 83 acres of land and was a city council member. In 20th century LA, the area of Chavez Ravine comprised the three neighborhoods Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop. Back then, it was hard for families of color to purchase homes due to redlining and other restrictions that blocked home buyers from entering certain neighborhoods if they weren't white. These primarily Latino families then settled in the area of Chavez Ravine, where they could purchase homes, were still in an accessible area to the city, and could build wealth. This was a vibrant community of American citizens where everybody knew everybody. And you know how quickly cheese spreads. Well, the word got out as the area became more desirable with city contractors and was eventually designated for public housing projects as part of the American Housing Act of 1949. In 1950, notices were passed out to the current residents. Hi there. We're going to knock down your homes, pay you a very small amount of money for them because we deemed your cozy nook of LA a slum, and then you can move into the Elysian Park Heights housing. Not only are they cheap, but they're also undesirable. Nothing makes you want to live in a house more than a neighbor above you that plays the drums, another below you that has loud marital disputes, and another who also called the cops on you because you threw a Halloween party where, as luck would have it, a guy you didn't know showed up dressed like Fat Jesus yelling 12 like he's Freddie Gibbs as the less fun boys in blue are knocking on your door. Needless to say, I moved out of Glendale. Demolition of homes, schools, and the community at large began just 1 year later. The vast majority of people vacated the area. Those that didn't accept the lowball offers for their property had it confiscated through the city enacting eminent domain. Despite protests from families at City Hall, by 1952, political pushback against public housing development gained a lot of traction in local media and the ongoing mayoral election at the time, as well as Red Scare tactics leading to the entire Elysian Park development to be scrapped. All those families were displaced for nothing, and with nothing to show for it. By 1957, around only 20 families were left from the once bustling barrio, and the city sold the land, which was still intended for public use, to O'Malley's team. This would end up proving to be the straw that broke the mountain's back. And no, I'm not talking about the seminal film that led to me buying a timeshare in Wyoming. They actually blew up and dug out many of the beautiful Elysian Hills for, well, their dugouts. On May 9th, 1959, the last remaining residents were forcibly evicted by sheriff's deputies and demolition crews, a day now referred to as Black Friday by the community. Infamous images seared local news as Angelinos like the Arechiga family were wrestled out of their homes. Manuel Arechiga, by the way, continued resisting by living in a tent on the destroyed property until he received fair compensation. Dodger Stadium was finally completed and hosted its first game in 1962, seen as a pastime reserved for the city's white-collar and white-skinned fans. It wasn't until Fernando Mania in the 80s that the team began to win over Latino fans that now bleed blue for Los Dodgers today. The tragedy of the Chavez Ravine isn't unique to the Dodgers. Just ask the former residents of Atlanta's Summerhill, Peoplestown, and Mechanicsville about the Braves Stadium. A study that tracked stadium spending showed that, quote, by 2012, 125 of the 140 professional teams across the 5 major sports leagues in the United States and Canada had stadiums that were newly constructed or significantly refurbished since 1990. Construction costs alone for these projects totaled in excess of $30 billion, with nearly half of that being financed by public funds. Why do teams that have player payrolls of over $250 million need public funds for billion-dollar stadiums that uproot pre-existing communities? Major sports teams' promises of economic revival to communities that are primarily home to people of color have a terrible batting average. Also, if we're being honest, baseball is just boring. It's not fun to watch. The removal of Chavez Ravine is well documented and lives on with organizations such as Buried Under the Blue that are still fighting for those affected by unjust housing practices. We have to remember this history going forward, or else Inglewood will just be stadiums. There will be nothing else in Inglewood. Just stadiums. Stadium Wood. I'm Bruno, and I'm ditching baseball to play badminton. Badminton never hurt anyone, and shuttlecock is a silly word.